It's the This Week in Missouri Politics Midweek Update with Scott Faughn.
Welcome into This Week in Missouri Politics Midweek Update. I'm Scott Faughn. 2 weeks till Election Day. I'm going to be joined today by one of my favorite guests to talk politics with, the Dean of the Missouri Republican Party, David Barklage. Welcome into our Midweek Update.
How are you?
I'm bored. I mean, this kind of sucks, right? I mean, how many years did you work? And it was, for a while, just the Democrats were going to win all these races, especially the statewide. Now the Republicans, are you not bored?
Yeah, I mean, the old Democrats, I actually liked a lot of them.
Yeah.
And we were always fighting them till the end, and they were very good competitors. And now you've got all these woke people that I don't like that we can't touch because the elections are pretty much over before we even get to them.
Well, I mean, people talk about the wokeness and all that. Is there a better a friend to the Republican Party than the woke left?
Well, they are, but it's sort of like playing with a rattlesnake and calling it your friend. In the end, if you're not careful, it can actually bite you.
Man, I thought you could have put a lot of other people's name into that analogy when you were going to land it. All right, Dave. Let's. I know you are busy.
Refrain up front, Scott, because this can go south very rapidly. So I was just trying to.
I was thinking of putting a couple names in that I just wussed out there at the end, and I thought, well, if he's not going to, then I'm not going to. Let's
get there.
Let's talk about top of the ticket. I never talk about this stuff with you on the air. You've seen more tight races than anybody I know. While it's a little boring here in Missouri, the presidential race, which has probably historically been more boring than Missouri's races are, it's really interesting to me. I found myself for the first time in a long time going to that Real Clear Politics page and kind of getting a feel for where other pollsters are. I've always felt like I feel like Trump has some momentum, but I'm not anywhere near an expert on what happens in Georgia or Michigan. However, I've always seen Trump overperform his polls. If he's up on Election Day, man, I just feel like he wins. Am I wrong?
Yes, you're wrong. You're wrong, Scott.
Okay, good. Tell me how.
Look, I talked to a friend who's very high up in national Democrat circles, and they confirmed, my worst suspicions. I mean, one, you got to look in modern politics what the other side's doing, because presidential, as you've said it, I mean, it's very targeted now. It's no longer a national campaign. It's really, like a 7-state or 8-state campaign. And when you're a presidential campaign with that kind of clout, that kind of money, and the ability to get coverage, I mean, you can do a lot in these states. The problem is, why are the Democrats still contesting Georgia, Arizona, places like that? They should have been out of there by now if we had a winning team. And so the fact that the Democrats seem to be pouring money and are active in swing states that lean Republican is not a good sign, and that we're really not in stronger blue states means that we're not, playing too much offense. We're, Trump's in North Carolina. Well, shit, as bad as the president and the vice president handled the hurricane in North Carolina, that should be off the table. Georgia should be off the table. Arizona should be off the table if we're in a competitive race. So, look, there's no advantage to predict other than your own ego of saying, "Oh, I can predict something." And
well, I did call David Barklage this morning.
Well, yeah, there you go. So, so I'll fall into the trap, not because of my ego, but because I truly believe that Trump loses. And it begs a question, Scott, and I'll throw this question back to you. Is the Republican Party better off, and the American people better off, by Trump winning or losing? What say you?
The Republican Party going forward is better off if Trump loses. I have an inner belief that Trump's support is based on 3 pillars. institutional Republicans that have voted Republican since they were old enough to give a damn about voting, that are going to vote for the Republican if he can even pass a smell test. And Trump comes close and loses some of them, but most of them will vote for him. I think there's folks that just like Trump and they just think like the guy serving McDonald's French fries. That's just awesome. What a great stunt. I think there's legitimately people that love Trump. And then I find myself kind of vacillating in between those two. And the third, I hate the people that hate Trump so much that I want to vote for Trump just to flip him off. And I think that is the smallest of the three groups, but I think that's a group that you could probably get me to not vote for Trump, but not with a bunch of whiny bullshit.
So, I mean, I'm not sure I disagree from a standpoint. If I'm the Democrats, they can't let go. I mean, I tell you, I don't believe that any Democrat has the ability to want Trump to win. They only want him to lose. But
Carrie Engel and Crystal Quaid should definitely vote for Trump like twice if they can. They're going to run for Senate in 2 years. They would have a much better chance with Trump in the White House. They'd be fools not to vote for Trump.
Yeah, I think if Trump gets in, we fairly quickly lose any congressional majorities that we had. I think that Trump in gives the media, the Democrats, everything, someone 4 years to focus and define Republicans on, and that he doesn't have a succession plan. He doesn't care about party infrastructure.
Oh, what if he puts up one of those idiot kids? Like he's got that Ivanka who doesn't seem to want anything to do with it. He's got those two morons. I mean, I'm probably not voting for one of the two idiot kids. I'd probably vote for Ivanka. I definitely would vote for Ivanka. There's no question.
I just think that, and that also Trump, if Trump runs into presidency, that the economy collapses because of what the Democrats have done. I don't know how he defends it because he's so sensitive. And look, I would believe in Trump's 4-year policies, but I'm just saying this purely from what's best long-term for the party and the country. I think that I don't know if we can survive 4 more years with the immigration policies and the spending policies and what the Biden-Harris administration has given us. At the same time, I think if we're only given 4 years with Trump and then we're out 8 more years or 12 more years, then the country's gone. So to me, it's a matter of sort of MacArthur of walking out of the Philippines and saying he would return to fight for another day, or the same thing with the English retreat at Dunkirk. It was to fight another day. And I don't know if Trump can lead us to the promised land. And I think if I were the Democrats, I wouldn't fear either outcome. I think the Democrats, as long as Trump's on the plate, has some advantages that we wouldn't have otherwise.
Although I do say this, I remember 16. There was, 20 people on that stage? 19 losers. I don't think anybody but Trump beats her. Now, I have nothing to back that up with. Just my gut feeling was they look like crazy Rand Paul or little Marco or Jeb Bush, the daddy's boy wuss. Like all the things he said, I'm like, yeah, I totally agree with that. The guy's personality is amazing. That stunt at McDonald's was, you can always tell, right? A stunt to me, the best barometer isn't that it fires your own people up, because nobody expresses positives all that much or freely. But when your enemies are real torqued, you did a hell of a job. And I think you did a hell of a job.
Yeah, look, I absolutely agree with that. I'm not sure anybody else could beat him. And my comments weren't anti-Trump. They were just, from, again, if you want to be a good strategist, you have to take it aside from your partisan leanings, your ideological leanings, and just look at it straight. Trump has a level of baggage that's very complicated moving forward, and his personality traits complicate things. Look, we all saw his successes in his administration. Most American voters said we agree with what he does and what he did, but we don't agree with what he says. I mean, the guy sabotaged himself, and to that regard, you can't not recognize that as part of his traits.
So your prediction is Harris wins. Is it close? Is it close? Do we have
So-
this fucking sour grapes thing? I'm so tired of that. Is it going to be close enough where he can say, "Oh, it was stolen"?
I don't
That's
think
my
so.
least favorite part of Trump.
So I get into argument with my Democrat friends, even some Republican friends. You and I go way back, and how corrupt the Boot Hill was from a standpoint of buying votes, and they could bus them, they would buy them. They had a long, rich tradition. It's well documented. Missouri was one of the bad states in terms of those kinds of things, and so it does exist. But the Democrats have spent the last 10 or 12 years building an election model legally that we're not even competing in. I mean, Republicans stuck their heads in the sand and said, we're not going to deal with mail-in ballots. We're not going to deal with early voting. We're not going to deal with any of these things. We're just going to ignore them. And as a result, the Democrats are way ahead. And I say that is, for example, I don't know why Philadelphia takes a week to count votes, and they can do them in Cape Girardeau or our beloved Butler County overnight. They have them done before midnight.
Shout out to Tanya Defendahl.
Yeah, there you go. But I'm just saying is that we're going to win Pennsylvania until Philadelphia comes in. We're going to win Georgia until Atlanta comes in. We're going to win Michigan until Detroit comes in. And my point is that what they have going on in the city, their turnout, their vote collections, everything else, their support by billionaires, by foundations, by the media, it's just absolutely going to be a very tough night. I think if he's not up 5 to 6 points in the polls, he loses, because I think they can generate that many votes.
I used to sit in Mark Richardson's office back in the day, and we'd be winning Missouri until the city of St. Louis reported, almost always conveniently enough to win by 2 points, the whole state. I think I've got a theory on this, why they have not embraced the ballot chasing and the modern techniques, because it's easier for people to vote. Look, I'm not here to take up for St. Louis people, but I think it's bullshit that a St. Louisan has to wait in line to vote for 2 hours. I think a person that's raising kids and working a job, a.k.a. folks that should probably be open to a case to vote Republican, can't vote Republican because the line's too damn long. I mean, that's bullshit. I think that we've been, just like the pro-lifers, they would have rather done all these legal challenges and legislative stuff. They did not want to go talk to the people of Missouri and make their case. The pro-choice folks are raising money, organizing, and ready to go to the folks. Pro-lifers tried every possible out to have to go convince someone to vote against Amendment 3, and I think the polls are going to reflect that. I think Republicans, we don't like to change. We didn't want to go adopt new tactics, and it's kicking us in the ass.
Well, but I'll tell you two things. The Democrats, I'm going to, and again, a lot of people may be mad at me saying this, I don't think fraud elections much, but I do think they cheat all the time. And for example, in St. Louis County, they didn't get ballots to West County, so West County people, left lines and didn't vote one time. This is before extreme. And then second, North County, they have judges standing by to keep, quote, the polls open. And to that regard, and you've got Zuckerbucks coming in and flooding Democrat, oriented counties to help them increase voter turnout, which again looks good on the face of it, but the reality is they're pouring in money to help increase Democrat turnout and not Republican. It's not partisan. So, I mean, I do take exception to those things, but that's the game of politics. If you're not going to take advantage like that, then maybe you shouldn't be in it. Republicans, exactly as you said, have stuck their head in the sand. And the other thing is Scott, we're not even playing the same game. I mean, there's a multi-million-dollar effort every year for the last 2 years, and it's a 10-year plan for the Democrats nationally to take over Missouri and some other Midwestern states. In Colorado, it took 3 years to turn that from a state that had a Republican governor to Republican senators, 6 out of 7 Republican congressmen, and 2/3 majority in their legislature. 3 years after being targeted by national Democrats, they were upside down. Missouri will take longer, but this abortion deal isn't about abortion. This abortion deal is about Democrats. The minimum wage deal is not about union families or wages. It's about Democrats, progressive Democrats. They are going to use those efforts with tens of millions of dollars from Soros, from Hopewell Fund, and all those places to turn out, to erode or delete our supermajorities, to pass those measures, and to try to take out Holly. I don't know if they'll get Holly, but they want to take him out or they want to diminish him because that he has been a bad boy as far as they're concerned.
Well, let's talk about that race. I mean, to me, number one, Josh Hawley's not going to get the same margin that Hoskins and Bailey and Wassinger get. You have a well-funded candidate on the other side. You have a good candidate in some ways. I mean, look, if you were going to size up Josh Hawley and go at him, you'd probably say he's phony, right? That'd be the attack. Maybe he doesn't care about Missouri enough. I think probably also the Yale thing would be something you'd hit him on. Lucas Kuntz went to Yale too. I just think Lucas Kuntz is a bad matchup, but I also think Hawley was going to win. If this race is closer than it should be, one, hat tip to Kuntz's fundraising. Tip your hat to him. And then, I think also really Mike Kehoe should take him shopping, right? And buy Hawley some clothes, like actual Missouri clothes.
Carhartt.
Yeah, anything, yes. Even the knockoff Magellan brand would be a significant upgrade. I mean, I think Josh Hawley, if you just hear him talk, he's so smart. He's got that deep voice. I admire his intelligence. I admire his speaking ability. But sometimes he dresses like a dude that I probably don't want to hear talk.
Well, what worries me is that Senate elections are very partisan.
Yeah.
And so when you have a turnout of partisan voters that happens at a higher level in presidential elections, it puts a guy like Hawley at risk. And you've got an independent running against Hawley out of Joplin, pretending to be a moderate Republican. That could cost 3, 4, 5, 6%. You've got a guy, Democrat, raising a ton of money that no one has been noticing, who, sort of talks about his roots in central Missouri and his military. You've got no turnout effort on the Republican Party, Scott. This is the first time in my memory that the Republicans do not have any turnout effort through the party. And then you have the Democrats through this abortion deal that is trying to probably do very heavy turnout.
Okay, are you setting low expectations, or do you believe the Democrats are going to have a good night a week from today, 2 weeks from today?
I think they will make legislative gains in the House and Senate.
Well, but I want to get you. I got you the show over under, and Kelton can clip this. We'll play this on election night. Hawley wins over under what? Where would you set the over under at?
4 points.
I'll take the over, but not by a lot.
I was helping you on that one. I thought I'd tank that a little bit and you could take the over, but I think it'll be close.
You don't have to bump it up much more for me to take the under, but I'll take the over on 4. I'm excited. I don't think it's any secret if you've ever been part of listening to me talk politics. I have a high regard for Crystal Quaid. If she were to be elected governor, she could do the job. She'd do it competently, not in the way she'd do it in the way a Democrat would like it, a Republican wouldn't. But I think she's a competent person. I really think it's exciting for you can absolutely look anybody in the eye and say the best person in this state to be governor is running. He's running as a Republican. His name is Mike Kehoe.
I think Kehoe will win in double digits. I think it would have been more if it would have had a turnout effort. And abortion, I think, will hit it in the cities. I think you're going to see a bifurcated swing. You'll see the cities go heavily Democrat, urban area heavily Democrat, high turnout for Democrats. And you'll see the suburban areas, because of Trump, fairly heavy Republican. Let's just hope it's heavy enough. But I think Kehoe wins easily in double digits because she's not defined. I don't disagree. Good quality candidate, et cetera, but she's not been able to raise money.
Nope.
And so that lack of definition is going to make people uneasy to vote for that could be swing voters.
There'll be the same folks complaining that the statewide Democrat didn't do that well with the same folks that are sending money other places besides her. I do think, because of some factors not really even to her credit, do you think she does better than Nicole Galloway did against Parson?
Marginally, just because of the abortion turnout.
Yeah, but does better, which sets her up for future. The down ballots, I mean, it looks like Bailey's just a bulletproof tiger, man. I mean, he come out of that primary just looking for the next sumbitch to whoop.
Yeah, look, and that could have been conceived as divisive. He could have been hurt by it, but I don't think there was any issues that Will, who, I think you and I feel the same about Will, that the only good thing, I mean, one of the best things about Trump being elected might be that Will gets a really good opportunity. I think he can make those opportunities with or without Trump, because Will is a very thoughtful, good, strong policy maker. But
have you ever seen a guy lose a race? And look, Bailey won by a healthy chunk. I've never seen a guy handle it classier than I've seen
he's
Will
a class act.
I mean, just
He's
total
class
class.
act.
Yeah.
I supported Bailey, but did not. It was about supporting Bailey more than opposing Will. Of all the people running, he's just a great guy and a class act. But I think Bailey, wins very handily. I think the issues that Attorney General between him and Will, I think either one of them would win the general election, just because most of those issues weren't going to hurt him with the base, so he's going to maintain the base. And going after criminals, it's hard to lose votes.
The rest of the down ballot's going to sweep in. It doesn't seem to be any major surprises. It's just, they may have a little intramural, the three of them, see who can place the highest. It does look to me like there's no congressional races. My buddy Ray Hartman's making a run. He's going to come on Thursday.
Yeah.
We're going to talk a little politics with Ray here on the Midweek Update. Tomorrow, David, guess who we're having? You're never going to guess. Take a guess who we're having on the Midweek Update tomorrow.
Ann Wagner.
No. We are having the Green
That
Party
was a
candidate
good guess,
governor.
though.
It was good.
What's that?
We're going to have the Green Party candidate for governor in here.
Awesome.
Yeah, it's going to be kind of fun. Then we'll have Ray in on Thursday. Ray will be a good time. Friday on the show, we'll have Lieutenant Governor Mike Kehoe.
He's a great guy. He's the old-time liberal.
Yes.
He and Ann running against each other are the worst thing for me, because I love Ray Wagner and Ann, and Ray Hartman. I've got a place in my heart. So I hope somehow they can both sort of win, in their own way.
I love Ray Hartman. Great guy. I heard when he was paying himself, I'm like, good. He should give himself a raise.
You see
funny.
The audience in the back there, by the way?
I'm getting old. Who is the audience, Kelton?
It's my dog.
Oh, okay, good. I was like, if that's Ray Hartman, I mean, props to David getting him to sit there quiet that long.
She wanted to meet you. She's just sitting there.
Oh, I bet you. Me and your dog are intimately acquainted every time I come.
I know.
If only others was attracted to certain parts of me as your dog. We always have a joke that people would take a bullet for Ray Wagner and Casey, and they'd put one in me and Ann.
Yeah, I resemble that thought.
So let's talk about these 3 state Senate races, man. Every time I come to your office, folks, if you've never had a meeting in David Barclay's office, it's like this wall behind me on steroids. It's like a museum of the history of Missouri politics, including when you were videotaping them in the courthouse. Really, David's the reason the Mississippi courthouse got burned, because he was videotaping them cheating, and they burnt the evidence. But let's talk about I'll never not walk through that office and see all the state senators signed you like a thank you thing. They all signed the Senate map when you won it like 26 seats or something ridiculous. Let's get into these state Senate races. Let's start in Independence. Now, man, I tell you what, Nicola ran Searpoy tight. He beat a guy that, I think most folks thought McMullen would win. He has no money. But the partisan advantage in Independence is gaining steam. Trump's popular in Independence. How does the 11th go?
So, it's interesting there. Everything you said is correct. But, in Robbie Sauls, it's weird that he hasn't done better yet. But you got to respect, $500,000 versus very little on the other side. And it is a different dynamic in a primary than a general. And there is no turnout effort for the Republican there. I see this one as that Nicolai should be able to squeak by, but I give the over or under no more than 2 or 3 points there. Everybody's talking about 11-point lead, these big leads. I think it's going to be a squeaker.
I don't see 11 in Independence. Yeah. If you had McMullen and he was fully funded and da-da-da-da, but Nicole is a door-knocking machine, which can win you a primary in a suburban district where you can reach the doors. But I'm with you. I think Nicola. I'd rather be Nicola than Sauls, but I don't see a landslide.
No, and in fact, I mean, look, Drew Damp and his team and Cindy's raising money. They're doing everything they can, but I just think in a general election that gets a lot tougher because, for example, you said he's a door knocking machine.
Yeah.
But I would bet he's having to spend most of his time on the phone trying to raise money. And in a primary,
look, I will tell you this: it looks to me like almost like a Koenig, right?
Mhm.
I think he's going to do his doors. He's going to do them very well. He's a very charismatic guy when you get to talk to him one-on-one. And I think he's going to rely on the Senate infrastructure to pay the freight on mail and television, radio. Now, will they do that? I don't know. That's my last topic. But I do want to take a little break here. Look at this. Remember this? Somebody sent me this week. This is an old school legislative plate from back in the day. Missouri's plates used to be this kind of burgundy color. You recognize this? When you were kicking Democrats out of office, they had to turn these type of plates in, didn't they?
I used to have fun following them. You know, they've made it easier so that I could actually follow them when they were on their jaunts with their girlfriends or drunk driving and going off the road or anything else.
How mean. Only someone from Cape would pull that kind of shit, Kelton.
Well, there weren't that many
look
Brian
at this.
McGinnis back then. You know that, Scott.
Oh, yeah, I'm with you. I'd just like to be sanctimonious about it now. SEAL Team 1, this is a mug that Bill Irwin is a rising star. You're going to hear his name many times. You could get a load of him on the television show this past week from Warrensburg. Bill Irwin, Starer from Cass County, great dude. He's had a history working in Special Forces, supported SEAL Team 1. Always want to thank our sponsors, the Courtyard by Marriott, the only place, if you're a serious political person, you want to put anyone up here in Jeff City. And, of course, United Fiber, the absolute top of the top up in the great Northwest, as Senator Hageman would say. Let's talk about a race that's kind of in the foothills of the great Northwest. Clay County, that district has shrank and shrank as the Northland's grown. Lauren Arthur really didn't have a serious opposition last time. I thought Maggie Nurnberg, really talented candidate, great, full of energy. I thought she was walking into this thing. And then Jerry Nolte files.
Well, Nolte has always been able to overperform. I mean, that's
what a great
I think
dude.
that's past history. Nolte has been able to win when few Republicans could. He just matches the district well. And I mean, you know, the nature of that district, it's a little more gritty. And I mean, think about the former Democrat Senator Ed Quick.
Yep.
And you think about that area, I think that Nolte seems to be sort of a average Joe kind of guy that they connect to, that's sort of a working guy. Now,
he looks like the kind of guy that could play a guitar, right? With that hair, and he looks like he was in a band in the 70s.
But I'd be shocked with what's on the ballot and the turnout that he can overcome that. I mean, again, I want to promote every Republican, but if you're asking me from a strategist, I just think that's an awfully tough race to win. I hope to be proven wrong on that. I do, because I think Jerry Nolte is a great guy.
So you're predicting that, look, I mean, obviously it is an upset if he wins, but I do think no one else was going to put that thing in striking distance. And I do think he's made Democrats spend money there that they probably would not have had to if anybody but Jerry Nolte would have stepped onto the scene.
Win or lose, he's owed a debt. That's for sure.
Yeah. Now let's talk about a race. I love talking St. Louis County with you. You have a heart for St. Louis County. I have no idea where it comes from. I do not share your passion whatsoever. My son had to do a year in elementary school in Ball when he said he'd rather done 2 in San Quentin. David Gregory's race in the 15th, it is so interesting to me, all the dynamics at play there. Gregory, talented guy, looks like $1 million. I always like, hey, get a little mustard on your tie or something, scuff yourself up a little bit. Running against Joel Peerless, probably the best recruit of the cycle, an executive from Drury. He's got a money advantage as far as the campaign. Gregory had a tough primary. Now, look, this is a Republican seat, historically, the last one in St. Louis County. Koenig won it comfortably, but Trump did not. It has been trending. I've seen a lot of numbers on abortion. The only thing I don't see is in Kansas City, I don't see the intensity, which is kind of matches the community. In St. Louis, there's some Amendment 3 intensity. What happens?
Well, there are definitely a bunch of abortionists running around here. You can't go outside without being assaulted by a coat hanger one of those woke ass people. I'm probably not supposed to say that on here, but Gregory is definitely the guy you and I would used to make fun of, and then hope that we could ever get a date with his girlfriend.
Yes, pure jealousy. Yes.
Get one. Yes, absolutely. But he's not just good looks. I mean, he's smart. He's a lawyer, fairly accomplished. I think people have been, again, because the way he looks, everything, jealous and maybe talked down his chances. I was on the other side of a primary about him, and I definitely wanted to win that primary. But there is a strategic interest here, and that is the Republicans, nor St. Louis County particularly, and the St. Louis region can't afford not to have a Republican from St. Louis County. When I left the Senate, we had 4 of 6 seats. And now if he loses, the strategic interest of the region is going to be in real trouble. I think
but
the
David,
Carpenters...
hold on. Yeah, I like Andrew Koenig. I respect him, but I don't think of him as an economic development guy. I think of him kind of as a social issue guy.
No, but Gregory is.
That's what I'm saying. But you haven't had one in how long? I mean, 8 years. I mean, Koenig's focus was never on the things Eric Schmidt was focused on.
That's right.
St. Louis has made it okay, I guess, without someone focused on those things.
But, it's like anything else. It doesn't necessarily fall the moment of the election. It takes time. Mm-hmm. And Koenig's disinterest is certainly hurt charter school movement and other causes like that have emanated from the urban areas.
The charter school folks do not seem to be as concerned about this race as you are.
Yeah, well, I think they may be starting to figure it out, but a lot of people have been running money through the Senate to support this campaign that you would have probably seen for Gregory, and that might change your position on it. But I think everybody's coming to that knowledge that Republicans, charter schools, the St. Louis region, they can't afford the seat. That's one. 2, because I have a longstanding respect for the Drury family, I won't say a whole lot about Peerless, who was their legal counsel, corporate counsel. I'm sure that he worked hard every day and has earned their respect, from which I understand.
Seems to be a nice guy.
But no, I don't buy that. I look at he's the treasurer of an organization that is funneling money to the abortion effort, which the Drury family is one of the most pro-life families around that I know, that comes from their heart. The guy is supporting left-wing Marxist causes, and that's not a talking point; it's a fact.
Is he the director of insurance? Oh no!
What's that?
Is he applying for director of insurance?
If he loses a seat, he might. So
he'd be cut out for that crew.
I think this guy's an imminent threat, because I think he could be an asset to the Democrat Party.
Very much.
He is unlike some others. I think he's a true believer. But
let me ask you this: how interesting is this? You have a pro tort reform Democrat versus a Republican that I don't know where David stands, but my assumption is he is on the other side of that issue from Peerless. How interesting is that?
I don't know what Peerless is saying. Peerless probably have us believe he voted with Donald Trump to get elected in that seat. But
I mean, if you're the jury corporate counsel, I mean, you're probably for tort reform, right?
Well, they hire competence. I don't know if they hire business philosophy. They're a successful business because of that. But point is that Gregory is up 5, I think, in the chamber poll. He's up. I think I heard that Doug Beck had commissioned a poll. He's up in that. And I think it's coming around for him. And I'm going to put him in the win column, even though it's going to be very close.
See, I feel this. I think Gregory wins. I think the party, and the party means interest groups that support the Republican Party, the crew. I think somebody sounded that alarm effectively about a week and a half ago. Or maybe they were sounding it and somebody finally started hearing it a week and a half ago. That's a race that could have got away from Republicans, but it looks to me like they are doing what they need to do to shore that race up. And I guess we could ask Flat Doug what he thinks, but I know the Democrats are very confident about 15. To me, it's going to come down to one thing. In a normal environment, David Gregory wins. If the Democrats can use the abortion issue to have significant turnout, I think you'll see it first in Chesterfield.
Yeah, I would agree. House polling has showed Chesterfield's getting squishy.
Yep.
You make money, you're a Republican, you make money for too long, you start to become a Democrat.
And that's probably true around the country. I don't think Chesterfield, to me, is just like a suburb, just a, rubber stamp, zombie vinyl siding, Prius, weirdo place. They have them all over the country, places that can't help but not. I think that's true of all Americans in that Chesterfield mentality.
Well, maybe it's a case for inheritance tax and for a much heavier tax on the wealthy so that they have to come back and actually appreciate capitalism.
Tax them to
By the way, I
appreciate
just saw
capitalism.
today. Well, look at this, buddy. I saw the new president. There's a new president of the James McDonald Foundation. Now,
Okay.
I've raised money from the McDonald's and, John McDonald, James, strong conservatives. I mean, you couldn't get more Republican guys like that. And I know they left their money, $500,000, I think, $500 million
Ooh.
to do community good. But tell me what sense it makes for them to write a check for $1 million for minimum guaranteed income for 500 St. Louis families. They wrote $1 million checks, the largest contribution to it. And the damn thing's been held up in court, whether it's constitutional, and they still gave it. But the whole idea of $500 of minimum guaranteed income for people who built a fortune on capitalism strikes me as what's wrong in America. Wealthy people should leave their money to things that promote capitalism, or hell, they should just spend it so that no one else can get it and do damage with it as much as do good liberals.
So all these ballot measures. Let's just start with casinos. What's going to happen? They're going to be a casino at the lake.
Yeah, I don't like that. One of the things I'm not concerned. I understand is if it's an Indian casino, for example, does it collect or pay any taxes whatsoever? So what is the economic benefit for giving a bunch of Yahoo Indians who really don't have anything to do with the state other than they, peed here and shot a buffalo one time 200 years ago with a relative?
I can offer you one thing that's pretty dope about this. Do you know what the chief's name is? Byron Bighorn. If your name is Chief Byron Bighorn, that's legit, man.
Well, you got guts or balls, something. But look, I think it passes. I'm not seeing, people seem to have given up. They gave up on marijuana. They've given up generally on these kind of social moral issues and have become libertarian from pressure from the far right libertarians and from the far left people. They're sort of all the same thing anymore. So I think it passes.
So, the Indian one is the one the locals do not want. In my opinion, either you vote to put a regular casino like you'd see at Hollywood or wherever, which I think would be great for this state, or you're going to get the Indian one. So yeah, it's not like you're not going to get a casino. Talk about sports betting. I just don't get it, David. Explain it to me. All these folks tell me how they're for liberty and freedom and all these other buzzwords they see on Facebook, but they're really just for the liberties and freedoms they want you to have. And then if you do something they don't like, they don't want you to be able to do that.
Well, that's true. Well, look at the education establishment. I'm gonna punch them in the face here. Is that they are arguing against their own interest. That they've been out on sports betting, and instead of embracing it because it could generate $30 million, they're like, well, we're against it because we don't think it will. Well, so you're against it because you don't think it will, but you can look at it, it should, the better argument is you're against it because you don't think it'll get to you. So either it doesn't exist or it's not going to get to you, one of the two. And so they want to throw up this insulting to me. Republicans don't like to fund much of anything but education. You know that, and I know that. And to that regard,
and they don't really like doing that. They kind of get boxed into that.
Education is above the constitutional minimum. Senate bill last year, or the bill 277 or whatever, was a huge funding bill for education. Yet they complain about the bait and switch tactics of Proposition C or the lottery over 20 years ago. So that's bullshit. Two, they complain that $30 million isn't enough. What's 500,000 school lunches? And take 30 million from the education establishment, they will cry and scream and complain like everything's going to end. But offer to give them 30 million, and they snub their nose at it.
I mean, if you've got money to hire Aaron Cornman, you got plenty of money at schools. You need cut, actually. So
all
what's
I
going to
can
happen?
say-
It looks like it's Caesars, though, that's funding it. It's like an inter-casino fight. I don't care who gets the money. I don't actually give a damn. I'm too cheap to be much of a bettor. Kelton runs an illegal gambling operation, though. He's benefiting from the black market. I just think if you want to bet on the Chiefs, who the hell am I to tell you can't?
I agree. Look, so many states, over 36 states, it's legalized. All we're doing is allowing them to benefit off our betting. And so, if you're for sports betting, you should vote for it. If you believe that it makes sense because so many other states are doing it and you'd rather keep the money here, you're for it. If you actually care about education, unlike most of these educrats, you would be for it because it can generate money for education. To me, it is a winner, and I think that we're starting to see a pullback from the opposition for whatever reason. And to that regard, I think it's going to give it the air to win, and I think you're going to have a victory. And Christian Morgan's leading that team, and he's incredibly able.
So let's talk about the Amendment 3. I guess first question is, do you believe this passes?
Yes.
What's the over-under on that?
Boy. You know, you have to believe.
I'll play this time. I'll set it. 55, you taking over the under?
Over.
56?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Still?
Scott,
57? You still taking the over?
Yep.
Ooh.
56, 57, I think that gets closer. Look, there's nothing to the counter. They're lying out their teeth. And again, strategically, that they're hiding gender care in it. They're getting rid of parental consent.
Are they hiding gender care in it, though, really? That just seems like, are they really, seriously, do you believe that's the case?
Well, I told a friend who's a lawyer, I said, I'm not a lawyer, so I've asked other lawyers who are reasonable on this issue. Yeah. They believe it opens that door. But, Scott, look at what the lawyers for the hospitals did. The lawyers for the hospitals basically said the law the legislature passed puts you at risk. So, you shouldn't do certain things. And they have, hospitals have sworn by that. We got to do what our lawyers say. Lawyers on the other side say that they're unnecessarily risk adverse, but it's hard to make that argument to hospital that they could be at risk, maybe if all these things and a judge decides they're at risk. So the risk may be that small, but they are overplaying it. And to my belief in reading this language and talking to people that are smarter, that yes, it does open the door to that. It doesn't prohibit partial birth abortions. It does prohibit you from suing a doctor of malpractice on this. And so I think it's a horrible overreaction. But look, who's going to fund $28 million for a ballot issue unless it is a radical pro-choice amendment? None of these national groups are going to do something Roe v. Wade, reasonable. So
I get what you're saying, but I just think if you're the pro-choice people, you're organized, you're on the same message, you're funded, you're running. Take the issue out of it. You're running against an opposition that is not funded, that has multiple different signs because they can't get along. You're with an opposition who the only thing I think people in Jeff City, the only thing the pro-lifers hate more than abortion are other pro-lifers. These people hate each other. I just think with those dynamics, you want to be on the side that's got it together, and that is not the pro-life side.
No, look, the Missouri Right to Life are a bunch of Nazis masquerading as nuns.
It's a German. I almost take offense at that.
Legal. They don't make any sense about what they do. Peter Kinder helped override partial birth abortion, and they never endorsed him because they thought that someone had a pro-stem cell sign in a yard by his. Matt Blunt they harassed. Some of the biggest pro-life leaders this cycle they've ignored, like Mike Keogh, who's a devout Christian who his entire life has been pro-life. Screw them. They don't represent anything but their own self-interest masquerading under pro-life. So, of course, them leading the fight against this other deal, we're going to lose. But there's an absence of any counter message. There's no message explaining to people who believe in some reasonable exceptions. If you believe an exception is, and that, that these people aren't telling them, yes, this is paid for by the most abortionist loving people in the country to stick it down your throat to help us win Democrat seats. That's not the message. The message is this is a reasonable procedure to protect women's choice, whatever the hell that is.
One of my favorite people in the boot hill was questioning, how do you really feel about it? I mean, I agree. I also think if you take 2024, there's be 10 months of this campaign. 8.5 months of this campaign were spent for them doing everything possible to avoid having to talk to a Missouri voter. Everything possible. And the pro-choice people were out organizing, talking to voters, getting their stuff together. Sometimes you want to be, if you deal the cards out, you want to be on the side where the pro-choice people are, just because they have it together, and I just do. I don't know how a reasonable person could look at this fact set and say no, they don't have it together. I think they absolutely do, and I think they'll be successful on Election Day. And part of it, I'm not even sure. It's one of those things. I'm not sure how much they went out and won it as much as the other side lost it. But in this case, I think it's both.
Scott, you are again correct. It is, to me, politicians that whine about losing and blaming the people. They need to look in the mirror, because most of the times our inability to launch a campaign that articulates the issues properly is the cause. And you can, for defeat, it's not the people. You can try to blame the media. You can blame all these charitable organizations that are promoting woke stuff. You can blame everybody. But you know what? So what? We have a campaign to run. If we're any good, we win those campaigns no matter what's stacked against us. And we can't offer excuses because the other side was too smart or too organized. Screw it. I agree with you that this thing is going to go get passed because of the lack of a legitimate opposition against them, because the people who claim that they're pro-life care more about their internal politics or their own self-interest than they do the life of unborn children. Smoke that, guys.
You know what, David? We're not going to do better than that. I'm gonna let you go, and I'm gonna do illegal gambling with Kelton. Thank you so much for the time. I always appreciate it. Maybe when I'm in St. Louis next week, you'll come out and get in the truck on the F-150 tour for a minute.
I'll do that, and we can go down either to Ted Drew's or hit White Castle and get a bag.
That's spoken like a true St. Louis. And David Barklage, thank you so much for the time. I appreciate it, buddy.
Thanks, man.
All right. Kelton, was David Barklage, the dean of the Missouri Republican Party. I say we're going to have fun tomorrow. I say we hold off on our illegal gambling picks, and then we bring in Paul, the Green Party candidate. Now, did you ever think we would be fortunate enough to have a gubernatorial candidate come in here, sit in that same chair that many, many leaders have sat in? We're going to learn about the Green Party tomorrow. It's going to be dope. Join us. Kelton, what time did we set that for?
We set it for 11 a.m.
11 a.m. tomorrow. Get green with us. I'll wear my Falcon green because in Wardsville on Fridays we wear green. On Wednesdays we're going to wear green here on This Week at Missouri Politics Midweek Update.